Well, so the City Club is welcoming you, and we've been around for 10 years presenting programs like this, programs that are about issues that are important to this community and that increase understanding of other people's perspectives. I've been involved in this City Club for 10 years since it started, and my printer wouldn't work, so I have to read my own handwriting tonight. But I invite you to join us. I've enjoyed it because I've gotten to know people in city government and people that are involved in the issues that we present. We get our ideas for programs from people like you that attend these programs. And if you do think of something tonight or another time that would make a good program for City Club, please let us know. Our program committee will work with you to put it together. So tonight's program is on water availability after an emergency. This has been put together by James Paul Riddell, and he joined our program committee just this year. He'll be tonight's moderator. And I was told to tell you that we are filming tonight, obviously. And this is being filmed by Community Access Media. It'll be aired on YouTube, and please check the CAM website for the schedule. It can also be seen on Channel 29. It'll be ready in about 2 weeks for viewing. So when you came in, we may have mentioned to you that it's a blanket permission for you to be on the camera. So if you do not want to be viewed on camera, you need to let the moderator or the person, that will be Owen Dell, who is presenting the microphone to you. Hope you can use it better than I have. But he will let you know, or you need to let him know if you do not want to show up on camera. Okay, take it away, James.
We've heard a lot about the need for us to become resilient as private citizens, but I want us to feel that the public agencies are also hard at work to be able to help us survive a major disaster, and to speak tonight about what would happen if the worst case scenario, grids down, fuel's hard to get, pipes are broken, what do we do? That's what we're going to be talking about for the next, it's 7:10 now. It's time to introduce Mr. Tom Hubbard. Please come on up, sir. And Mr. Hubbard will speak, and then we'll have questions and answers. And I think about Mr. Hubbard's position as manager of the utilities division. You know, we turn on our faucet in the morning and there's water. We can thank him and his crew for that being the case. But I wonder, what's it like to carry something like that home with you at night, that responsibility? And what's it like to add to that the notion, oh my gosh, if that quake hits tonight, what are we going to do for 60,000 people here? And I know he wants to know what we're going to do for ourselves and our neighbors, but we would like to hear what the status is of that which his division has been charged with in the hazard mitigation plan that the county and the city have signed on to mitigate the possibilities of absolute dysfunction. What's being done to mitigate that? And Mr. Hubbard, thank you again for all that you do and for giving up your time tonight to be here with us. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. My name is Tom Hubbard, Utilities Division Manager for the City of Corvallis. And a little bit of information is, last year, the Utilities Department supplied 2.3 billion gallons of water to you, our customers. The city owns, operates, and maintains 2 water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plant, and a whole network of lift stations, pump stations, distribution system, collection system, and tanks, and various other pieces of equipment that make sure that we can operate fully to supply you that 2.3 billion gallons. Operating and maintaining these systems could not be done without the staff, the well-educated and dedicated staff of 52 folks that we have within our system. The utility department operates 7 days a week and provides a 24-hour response to you, your customers, for emergencies or just questions or fixing water leaks or something that might happen that we get called out on. Maintaining the infrastructure is complex, it's costly, requires skilled professional employees, staff, to do these tasks. They're licensed, and it must be able to respond to a disaster and emergencies. This training that they go through for this process is continuous. And recently, we had all our supervisors attend the National Incident Management Systems Training, better known as NIMS, and it's a very advanced process that we use, the federal government uses when they have to come in to organize and put systems together. So the city is working very hard to make sure that we have operations and strategy in place. In addition to this training, the department has worked on earthquake resiliency by retrofitting our 3 treatment plants, our pump stations, lift stations, storage tanks, and next year we are planning to replace, we are set to replace the raw water intake at the Rock Creek Reservoir. That'll bring that system up to the latest standards for resiliency for earthquakes. Preparing for water outages, it's a continuous process. It's continuous training. There are programs that we have in place to just keep continuing with the training process. The department is starting design for the Marys River water crossing, and that project is having discussions on it this month, and it is slated for completion in October of 2019. The project is estimated to be about $3.4 million. Pretty big price tag for that project. The department's also in the process of updating our water master plans. Once completed, they'll identify the seismic vulnerabilities and costs associated with mitigating them. The plan also concludes a 100-year review and 50-year plan for our raw water supply out of the Willamette. Next year, I've budgeted the investigation and planning for replacement of the Rock Creek transmission main that travels 15 miles from Rock Creek into the city of Corvallis. It's a major project, very big, and that is going to be designed as a hardened system to survive earthquake potentials. We're in a process of evaluating also a portable water filtration systems that would be staged throughout the city in case or in response to disasters. All these projects that I mentioned, and there are many more, is basically a process that is involved with training and funding and being able to provide the emergency response and be able to respond to other types of disasters besides earthquakes at the same time. So in summary, the points to remember are the utilities department is working on resiliency, but we need you to help us by being prepared at home. And Paul Berg will be talking about how you can do just that when he comes up next.
Good evening. You mentioned many projects there with fairly high dollar items. How many of those are already not just budgeted for, but the money set aside for doing them?
So we have, for our filtration systems, portable units, we're getting into a new budget year. We're planning for it now. It's already been put into the budget. There's some other budgeted items to go ahead and take care of other resiliency or earthquake or disaster retrofits in the budget also. We've been working on our buildings and tanks and other structures, infrastructure for quite a while. And we are moving forward. We have plans for continuously improving those. In the Water Master Plan will identify even further those items in respect to the latest seismic code that's there, and being able to identify what those costs would be also, so we can continuously work on the improvements.
If you care, when you're asking a question, if you care to give your first name, that'll help us keep track. That would be nice.
Hi, I'm Bobby. This is just something I'm ignorant of. What's the Marys River crossing that you mentioned?
Yes, ma'am. So there is a water distribution pipe that is attached to the Marys River now, and it was identified as a vulnerable piece of infrastructure that needed to be replaced. And so in the design and evaluation of that project, it was determined to go underneath the river with a new line and get it off the bridge.
And may I add something to that? Do I need the microphone? Sorry, I think the moderator is allowed to cheat. And I believe the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan says, doesn't it, that that would make a huge difference if that crossing is intact to the greatest proportion of citizens in Corvallis in terms of water supply. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Crucial.
My name is Ann. Is this plan out on a website, on the city website, under like Water Master Plan? That we could look at that and kind of go, okay, check mark, we've, passed that one. Check mark, we've passed that one.
To answer your question, the current Water Master Plans do not fully address the seismic, but there is seismic evaluations that have been done in the past. And I believe that they are within the Public Works website.
Okay.
On there. But as we do an update into the master plans, we will identify some other aspects of those and update them.
My name is Ken. What do you think of the idea of using end of fiscal year money, or even budgeting for a stockpile of water pipes and sewer pipes and wire in order to facilitate making repairs if our transportation network to Corvallis is compromised by bridges coming down or something else? So that way we have all the things that we need here already, and then just draw upon that as we need it and replenish that stockpile.
Yeah, good question. So we do have a yard, we'll call it, a storage yard, where we do keep pipe fittings, meters, all the different types of infrastructure that we need to replace or repair our water and sewer systems. So we do have some now, and we evaluate those as needed to respond.
In the event of an emergency, you're going to probably need more than what you have stockpiled already, correct?
That is a possibility, yes. And so we are doing evaluations. We do know that as a rule of thumb, there is X amount of line breaks that we done or will happen during a certain type of seismic event, and out of that you can expect a certain percentage of your system. So we do have a lot of repair fittings, and we do have a lot of pipe, but we are evaluating that at the same time. So, yeah, great question, thanks.
Hi, my name is Scott. If after a disaster you're able to supply a limited amount of water, would you give priority to residents as opposed to manufacturing plants? HP.
Well, That is an awesome question. Thank you. So in, pardon?
I mean, you could have a policy that states that, right?
Well, it gets very complicated simply for the fact that you have a network of pipes in the ground. We'll talk about water right now. And so you have a network of pipes that go in various directions. And it could be that HP is on the end of a line that also serves a residential area, how they're looped together. Our number one responsibility right off the bat is to go ahead, and this is part of this preparation process that you all can do as citizens. Wow, I thought I was pretty loud. Can you hear me? Better? Okay. Yes, ma'am. So, our number one priority is right off the bat is going to be our critical infrastructure, which is our hospitals, emergency services, and that is the number one. And then the second part, while we get that all back in service, then is the residential end of it. But while we have our crews broke up, and depending on responses and what's going on, that is the number one priority to get emergency services back in operations.
I'm Bob. Can you hear me? So I don't live within the city, but it seems like recently there's been quite a few breaks, especially in the older water pipes, like you've been up here by Dave's house. I just wonder how you think those are going to hold up with an earthquake coming through.
Good question. Earthquakes operate very strangely, where you have longitudinal movement. Some lines that you would think would break could potentially stay in place and be fine. But as we go through and we look at our infrastructure, and in the master plan and in looking at what we have for age of infrastructure, we do evaluate and see what vulnerable the criticality and risk is whenever we're working on those areas or determining which areas might need to be replaced now in preparation of. It is very expensive and very costly to replace infrastructure, and so we have to determine that based upon that criticality and risk and frequency that we have for water failure, water main failure. It is very, very common to have pipes in the ground that could be 100 years old and be fine, where you might have a pipe that's been in the ground for 10 or 15 years and it fails or it leaks. It all depends upon the soil conditions and installation methods that took place when it was installed. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
I'm Nancy. I wanted to ask you about access to drinking water in terms of bottled water, stockpile. I just probably isn't your bailiwick, but I understand we don't have a Red Cross capacity here in Corvallis. So are you working with other city, county agencies to stockpile bottled water? And given the experience recently in Puerto Rico, would the Oregon National Guard be involved in those relief efforts?
I think Mr. Berg might be able to talk about that a little bit better myself, because he had just come back from the disaster. But to answer your initial question, are we stockpiling bottled water, that answer would be no. We are looking into and looking at the purchasing and putting in place the other water filtration systems that would take place for that.
Hi, I'm Brandy. I just had a quick question. As far as the pipes go for our own homes, is it worth it to, if we don't already have it bolted to the foundation, to bolt our houses to the foundation? I mean, I know this is costly and stuff, but it seems like it might be worth it in the event of an earthquake.
I'm not an expert on that,
Sure, that's
but From what I understand, the answer would be yes.
Okay.
I think there was, in the Oregon Resiliency Plan, there was identified what homeowners can do to be proactive is to bolt their foundations in strategic areas.
It's code for any house built after like 1977, somewhere around there. Let's remind us.
Oh, thank you. I did not know that.
That's something we checked into, and ours is bolted, and our house was built after that. So it was code.
Good, thank you. That's good information.
Hi, I have a question. So my name is Meghna, and so I know we get our water from Rock Creek and also from the Willamette River, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so in case of an event where, say, the Willamette River is compromised because of some sewage spill, further upstream from another town or some other, wastewater pipe system, and you don't have enough filtration capacity to use that highly contaminated water to filter it locally and provide to the community, is there a plan to sort of also look at alternative water resources, like maybe the groundwater or some other besides Rock Creek?
Having the redundancy between the Taylor plant out of Willamette and the Rock Creek is a huge benefit. To be able to go and drill wells that would meet the requirements for the city is a very difficult process. The treatment plants are designed that even if or with a compromised or a polluted water that's coming down the river, if the treatment plant is still in operation, we can adjust chemicals, we can adjust our processes to still do disinfection and filtration. But it should be expected under a very large earthquake where a lot of infrastructure is disturbed that treatment plants will be not 100% operational, and that it'll take time to get them back up, inspections done to see what's been compromised in them and get them back into full operation. But the Rock Creek, having the two sources is the forefathers of this city have done this community a wonderful job in doing that, providing that. You bet.
Hi, my name's Loretta. So I was wondering, we have all these big water tanks around town, high up on stilts. Are those things like, made to actually take an earthquake?
Great question. We are actually in the process right now of updating one of our elevated water storage tanks and the woodland tank and bringing it up to the latest earthquake standards. We did an evaluation on that particular tank, and it is going to be retrofitted next year. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm John. Do your treatment and pumping plants have independent sources of power, or do they rely on the city grid or an external grid?
Great question. The Rock Creek treatment plant is full operational with backup power supply, and the Taylor water treatment plant, it is minimal, but I have in my budget, I believe in the CIP, next year to do a full generation power supply that's about $2 million. So we're in the process of making those improvements at Taylor. Good question. And I'm sorry, so we also have lift stations. Lift stations are associated with the wastewater, and pump stations are associated with water treatment or water pumping. And most all lift stations and pump stations also have backup power supply with most of them have under full load about a week or even 3 week supply of fuel.
Hi, I'm John. I'm curious about the retrofitting. I'm guessing that that it costs different amounts based on, well, if it's a 7.0, it'll cost that. If it's a 9.0, it's going to cost, oh my God. How are decisions made around how much money is worth the risk?
Great question. So value engineering and looking at cost analysis of that. There are some buildings that are designed to withstand a large earthquake, and earthquakes are really funny because it depends on how they move, the frequency, the timing, and all. There are some that are designed for occupancy, and there are some that are designed just to withstand enough time for you to exit the building and make sure everybody's safe just after it happens. And in most cases, that's usually what's planned.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth, and I was wondering if maybe for backup systems, if you considered solar power, solar energy, saving it into a battery. That's something that's been coming up lately.
Yeah, that's a great question too. And we have, and I might get this number wrong, at the wastewater treatment plant near the Public Works Operations, there's a 1 megawatt solar process that we put back into the grid system. And usually on some of the very large, because of the size of our pumps, motors, lighting, that solar could not fully operate those types of that type of equipment. But we have gone a lot with solar in a lot of different areas, and we do employ that wherever we can. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully, Mr. Hubbard can stay longer. I know that he has folks at home that need some help, and we'll see how that goes. If you have more questions for him, hopefully he'll be here after we hear from Mr. Berg and ask him some questions, and then have a short break, and then possibly another Q&A at that point.